Hello and good day. It's Weeb Hunter here, and I just started watching this video by Questron. For those of you who don't know Questron, he is a somber man, and actually he goes over that quite a bit in the beginning of this video. I paused it about 2 minutes in because I kind of want to see and do a little bit of a react to it just as a somber man myself. Uh, but yeah, I kind of thought this was going to be a lot shorter of him. But as soon as we went over, this is you're seeing on this now. We're going over what's apparently the r slash somber mains, and that's I don't know. That's a place, a swamp that I never knew even existed. I not surprised to know it existed, but anyway, let's hear.
It's weird. There isn't a single other hero in the game that has that type of player. Sojourn players revoke fun passes on a real by real basis just as hard, if not harder, than Sombra. But they find joy at the kill, not some sadistic, I hope he's pissed about that. The problem with this.
Yeah, that's not the best way to go about it at all. Yeah, all in all, the Sojourn main. If you have a Sojourn who's a server admin, they're definitely going to do a lot more than a Sombra is going to do in general, just because it's kind of a little bit more basic. But and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. Uh, but yeah, nobody likes toxic.
Is that in actuality, they're playing Sombra wrong just to do this. Spawn
Facts.
camping, for example, as Sombra, I do just about as often as I would on Soldier 76. It's inefficient, and doing so is at the expense of your own actions per minute and impact in a fight. I'm being genuine when I say that playing Sombra without emphasizing her toxic traits genuinely lets you win more often. Let me rephrase.
Yeah, definitely. Like when it comes to a quote unquote spawn camp, like let's say a Mercy dies early in the team fight, and then you have EMP, and then you get a good team kill with that EMP or something, like your whole team cleans up. If you want to go back because you know that Mercy's respawning early and kill that Mercy, that's a fine quote unquote spawn camp. But just sitting there, sitting in somebody's spawn, terrible. I would say maybe the one exception, if you want to be trolly, is actually on which map is it? Blizzard World, because you can sit by the spawn in Blizzard World and get a lot of value jumping back and forth from your team and abusing the mega medkits. And I would say in that instance, we have a problem with map design more so than character design, because it is when you have something that gives you 1,000% value, just take the 1,000% value. And those medkit locations the right in front of the spawn of Blizzard World first, in my opinion, too strong for that playstyle.
Not actively being a dick makes you win on Sombra.
Sure does.
And on the flip side, the people victim to Sombra, they say that her kit is inherently built on toxic gameplay traits and has to be cut into little pieces and disposed of, which is just absolutely ridiculous to me because Overwatch is special because of the developer's capability of pulling off nonsense. It's
Sombra is also a necessary evil.
genuine art, and it's the main reason why I love it so much. Take, for example, this comment here. It hits all the talking points, but this is where it gets weird, because, well, sure, Sombra has the ability to disable kits, but so does Doomfist, Orisa. Being slept by Ano or pinned by Reinhardt also count. Plus, every character
Facts.
that can kill you. Being dead and respawning is a good way to not let someone play the game, but it's because of the role and context of their kit that make it okay. It's not a perfect comparison to Sombra because, for starters, she's a DPS, and I don't necessarily think this excuses it, but the understanding of the premise that context and execution of design in Overwatch means that everything has a solution. Sombra.
In my opinion, the biggest counter to Sombra in the general sense is Winston. If you have a Winston on your team, the bubble prevents a lot of hacking, the bubble prevents a lot of the virus, the bubble prevents a lot. Whenever I'm in a game, I try to get Sombra and I try to ban Winston or even over Zarya for this fact. Zarya's bubbles are good because they cleanse, hack, and cleanse virus, but it's only on one person.
As well. We all hate one-shots and think they're bad. People call for one-shots to be removed from the game entirely. But Tracer's Pulse Bomb is a one-shot. It's an ultimate, but it's used like an ability. Whiffing it doesn't even mean you directly lose a fight, unlike EMP or Genji Blade. Now, invisibility being toxic, I somewhat agree with. I have plenty of videos where I go over the premise over and over again. It's related to the core principle behind why I've always told people to stop hacking health packs. When it comes to getting out of jail free cards, hell, Tracer's Recall is way more of one than Sombra was even before, back when you could put Translocator on a health pack. Recall does not require prep work, has no cast time, heals you without needing a health pack, repositions you away from where you were in danger, and it doesn't even have a negative connection to her general mobility either. It's a fully separate cooldown. Sombra's get
So, at the beginning of this video, he says some Sombra main state's a skill issue. And I would say for a percentage of people, we're talking like the bronze, silver, and golds it is, because when the problem is you guys don't turn around, it's very easy to blame an invisible character. But you guys will die to a Cassidy or a soldier or literally anything else running around in your backline because you're not turning around. And I get that it feels bad to, you know, eventually turn around and die to somebody who just runs away invisible so your teammates can't follow up because, you know, after 3 of you have died to some Reaper or something, they learn and turn around. But we'll see. Maybe I'm just complaining. I should
Get
let
out of jail
Questron
was
talk a bit more.
comically overkill by going across the map, but
Oh, yeah.
achieved the same premise. Sombra was hated. Tracer hasn't had any
Oh, yeah.
significant changes since 2017, and
Fair
people are
point.
happy about that. They praise it even. I should probably say that I have no issue with Tracer here. I don't want changes to Tracer. The main
Yeah,
point
Tracer's
is
great.
that the nuance exists, and to have a healthy discussion, we need to acknowledge the double standard. One-shots are not inherently a problem to people. Get out of jail is not inherently toxic. It's the context of the character's kits that make them tolerable or not. This applies to Sombra. Calling for her removal of her elements in this way is not a solution. Please stop making the same Reddit post over and over again in different wording.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I actually have some videos on it too, because it's like, yeah, there's a lot that can be fixed, a lot that can be changed, a lot that can be adjusted, a lot that can be balanced, because there has been a lot that has been a lot in Overwatch that has changed, and Sombra has changed rapidly and greatly with it. Like, she used to run a lot faster while in Invis, she used to have a wider spread. There's a lot that they've changed to switch her from being a, you know, what people used to call a disruptor into, you know, the more assassin play style. But you know what? The one thing I wonder if we'll go over. What about Questron? We'll see what he goes over. But the one thing I've always known is when it comes to things like a medkit or something, it's like I would always hack a medkit if I plan to like bait my enemies into there, because it's about like battlefield and map control and controlling areas of the map and utilizing areas of the map and turning a high ground advantage into like a super good advantage instead of just, you know, the advantage that already gives you shit like that.
There's a
Being
rule of
able to
thumb
bungee
regarding
jump.
Sombra. It's the one piece of advice that is
Here.
applied to her since the beginning of her existence.
Hear it.
And that is that the more you're using stealth, the more you're just proactively doing nothing.
Yep.
There's always been a
100%
direct
fact.
inverse correlation between a Sombra player's rank and how much time they spend in stealth to set up for what they need to do. The skill difference between Sombra players is in managing that downtime as efficiently as possible to do the most amount of things. Sombra matchups are won not by directly hunting each other down. They are won by one doing more things than the other to the enemy team. It's the extreme inverse of Widow versus Widow matchups where
Yeah, exactly. The Sombras who try to fight me as Sombras, I know are just bad Sombras. Not what you do. But yeah, the Sombras who stay invisible all the time are also, yeah, you gotta think of it. If you're invisible for 10 seconds, this is why a permanent stealth Sombra was kind of the worst Sombra. If you're invisible for 10 seconds, the respawn timer is 10 seconds. So you are pretty much in respawn. You might not have the walk time back, but you have the respawn timer, and you are doing nothing.
nobody can do anything until one of the widows kills the other. Standing still for 30 seconds waiting for a Sigma to flux is not efficient. I made a video titled "We Have to Talk About Sombra, Will Her Rework Even Do Anything?" which essentially serves as a massive "I told you so" now. The problem was more blatant back before Virus existed, where permanent invisibility facilitated and allowed it to happen in the first place. This is why I violently disagreed with everyone when r/Sombra main said Sombra was dead, and that Sombra was gutted back when Sombra stealth was put on a timer and tied to her translocator. Her identity did not change. You just...
I don't like it tied to the translocator, but yeah, definitely do not need permanent stealth.
Played her inefficiently on purpose up until that point and weren't able to do so anymore. The change allowed for more efficient pathing to set up, meaning you got to be in fights more often, for longer periods of time, all because stealth wasn't fully interruptible anymore. This direction change for Sombra is why I was so excited for the change, because I thought that it implied that moving forward, this would be the emphasis for balance for Sombra. With the most recent batch of perks, I feel like steps were taken back and alarm bells are ringing. Combined with the amount of hate I already receive with every interaction I have with anyone, I now feel the need to seriously have one massive video to hopefully call for change to happen in the right direction. There's some people that want her to be reverted to early.
And that's why I'm hoping that we can make a little echo chamber here, and let's see what Questron says. Because honestly, I've watched a few high-rank Sombra players, and you know, Fitzy, Questron, they're probably the easiest two. There was some guy named Cody for a long time, who I was watching before I really found Questron, who's very similar. But yeah, yeah.
Early Overwatch 2, when she put up a new historic record of the lowest average win rate any hero
Yeah, let's
across Overwatch 1
go.
and Overwatch 2 had ever had. She wasn't less annoying, she was just bad. This solution reflects the same premise. Arguing that this is a good solution is not arguing for the sake of balance and design. It's vindictive under the guise of saying it's for the best and is at the expense of the people that just want to play their Sombra. It's dishonest
Yeah,
and gets in the way of actually finding a solution. In
fine.
the modern day, as of Season 15, we have perks!
Yeah,
Perks
yeah.
help, generally
Let's
speaking, but
go.
Sombra's Season 15 perks not only sucked, but actively sabotaged her gameplay loop. In Season 15, for the first half, I was forced
Yeah, a
about
little
half
bit,
the time
actually.
to not pick a perk. Kiriko gets a second teleport, and Tracer gets a full reset of her blinks, and Sombra has to not pick a perk. Not only does Sombra get left behind in the power creep, but this is made even worse, because the perks that got added to her count.
Yeah, these somber perks first were like funny, but definitely trolly. Because yeah, especially the healing teammates. My one of the guys who I play in a team with is a Doomfist main, and he definitely was getting real pissed off every time I healed him because he thought he was getting hacked out of his abilities. It felt so bad. Like I'm trying to help, King.
Counters
Trying to help.
directly shut down the way of managing their duels. Against Tracer, you'd make her waste her blinks and have her recall by only using Virus or only using Hack to save the other one for after recall without blinks to get her at her least mobile. But now she gets those blinks back, which means essentially you have to just 1v1 her, but twice. Against
Yeah,
Kiriko,
yeah.
seeing her enter somewhere via her teleport meant that she would either have to waste Suzu to save herself or die if you dove her. Now she just has another teleport. There's no window of opportunity type dynamic. It was just directly taken away. Not only that, but Sojourn was essentially a hard counter, given how versatile her burst damage plays out in game, meaning every dive I did needed to be a guaranteed kill and fast, otherwise Sojourn would quite easily chase me down and kill me. She
Yep,
can
skill
abandon
issue.
her
I'm just
positioning
kidding.
from high ground and just get
This guy
back
would
real
wipe the
quick,
floor with
unlike
me.
Cassidy, but with the burst damage of Cassidy. So the window of opportunity was smaller, dives became more easily stopped, and Sombra was shit out of luck. This is where Stack Overflow was legitimately the only way Sombra would ever get a kill in that scenario, but it
Yep.
turned her into even more of a binary diver. Either your chance of killing someone is 100%, or you don't go for it. The oppressive feeling of Sombra was exasperated because of this, causing them to remove this perk in Season 16, which
Yep.
is fair enough. I don't think it's healthy for the game, but hero
Nope,
bans
fair.
means I can ban Sojourn, so I don't really miss Stack Overflow that much either. The problem
Honestly, the silence of hack has always been a problem, and I agree. Like if anybody hasn't played back when it was like 6 seconds, then just be happy. Take your hate of it now and times it by a lot.
still persists, however. A lot of people asked about my opinion since I made a big deal about it when we found out Stack Overflow was going to get replaced, but I
That's great,
realized
it's
I
fine.
overreacted somewhat since I underestimated the impact of banning Sojourn. I really don't like what it was replaced with, but that's for later in the video. The main reason I made a
Interesting.
stink about Stack Overflow leaving is because people
I'll wait
don't
till then.
realize the more fragile she is, and the higher the chance of who you dive escaping, the more risky her dives become, which places more pressure on getting the best bang for your buck. The only time she'd dive you is when she knows you're shit out of luck, making her feel significantly more oppressive than she actually is. Her only mobility, cleanse, dodge, and the entirety of stealth is under the same cooldown of 7 seconds. Tracer
Yep.
has 5 or 6 independently usable blinks and a recall, assuming you get the perk. The reason she isn't hated is because she doesn't play in a way that makes her have to get value out of every engagement, unlike Sombra. You get to swat her away before she goes in for a kill. For Sombra, the moment she goes in at all, it is for the kill. The rule is you have one translocator per person you go for. No concept of Genji's dash reset, no wall climb, no deflect, nothing. Do or die. All the while having 225 health, which is less than Genji.
I, I'm having a real hard time not hopping in that skill issue boat of some of the Sombra mains when people are complaining right about now, hearing this guy explain how much crap everybody else has. And when Sombra gets banned and the Doomfist and the Wrecking Ball mains come out, oh god. And I'm kind of okay with it because clearly my character has sent those guys into the Shadow Realm. So I just kind of get to be like, see, necessary evil. Sombra's a necessary evil. But that's just me being me.
Genji and Sojourn, who both have vastly more mobility and lethality. For the sake of keeping us on the same page, in this case, mobility is assumed as mid-fight mobility, like Genji's dash, Tracer's blink, Wrecking Ball's grapple, Juno's dash, Echo's dash, and flight.
That means not running away to like, well, actually maybe running away, but not like mobility to engage with.
You get the drill. Symmetra's teleporter is for this reason utility, not mobility. Even though Overwatch 1 Sombra had incredible utility, Overwatch 2 Sombra has more mobility. To visualize my gripe with how Sombra's been handled, assume all characters by design have 3 main points to them. How much those points are leaned in on is how impact unfolds.
Okay.
The 3 main points are lethality, mobility, and utility. I'm gonna skip explaining them because I don't want to put too much weight on a visualization of what I'm talking about to avoid arguing semantics. It's just to help guide, not genuinely some philosophical theory. Imagine the 3 main points all have their representing characters. Lethality being something like Bastion or Reaper, mobility being Tracer and Genji, and utility being someone like Mei or Symmetra or Sombra back in the day. Then Overwatch 2 came out and Sombra moved from pure utility to somewhat lethal without a bump in mobility. From that point on, every rework was essentially adding more and more hoops to jump through to do the same slightly too much amount of damage, slightly too fast. In Overwatch 1, the gun did the damage. Then later you had to hack someone first to do damage, then more later hit them with a projectile to do damage, then even more later you had to first hack them and then hit them with a cube to do the damage. And all the while, the major glaring problem still existed in her gameplay loop. Every dive was still do or die. No way to stall her survival out like with Doomfist block, Genji deflect,
Leave Sombra alone.
Mei's ice block, or Wrecking Ball's overhealth, but also no extra mobility to leave early like Tracer's blinks or Mercy's guardian angel. Regardless of how it happens, every dive ends up with someone dying, which meant that her status was essentially either a hated hero or a useless one with no gray area, depending on whatever the most recent patch is at the time of conversation. If Sombra's output gets nerfed because it's overbearing at whatever point in history, then you can really only replace it with other things that need to be overbearing to fill the gap in value. Kind of like a power vacuum that keeps getting replaced with a differently colored power vacuum. It's a little side tangent, but this premise clicked for me when I was replaying Insomniac's first PlayStation 5 Spider-Man, and J. Jonah Jameson popping up talking about Kingpin being gone, meaning there's a power vacuum because of Spider-Man, and the entire story is literally that playing out. This is why we have like 10 reworks under our belt. This means that whatever the problem in her kit was 10 years ago, it still is now.
It's because she's a necessary evil, and people in an ability-based shooter where 95% of the game is based on how your abilities let you do the cool shit you want to do. Nobody likes a character that just says no. It's like I play a tabletop game. Here comes hardcore nerd facts. I play a game called Magic the Gathering, really old card game. They have like a color system, and there's a color which people call blue. It's blue. It's literally just blue. It's islands, it's water, it's all that kind of crap. It's known for counter spells. Sombra is pretty much counter spells, because counter spells just says you try to play something, she says no. You know, Sombra is just that. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's really annoying. Literally everybody who comes to play the game hates blue players, but you know what? You're also all blue players. Because in some way, shape, or form, you want to stun them, you want to counter them, you want to shut them down, you just don't like that Sombra can do it. In my opinion, easily. It stops you from just being able to, like, jump up and, you know, fucking Pharah ult from 2 meters to, like, 5 meters off the ground, 2 feet from a fucking Genji, because she just sees it and hits you with the EMP, and your whole team is standing there because you're silvers, or you're golds, or you're like plats, because yeah, that's still going on in plats and a whole bunch of other rank, and you just die. Because you thought like, oh, group up. Bro. Junkrat, Pharah.
Community keeps attacking the direct output of the abilities, like how everyone complained Hack was broken, so Hack got nerfed from 5 seconds to 1 second in Overwatch 2. Translocator was broken, so it became short distance. Invisibility was broken, so it was put on a 5-second duration. And now we still hate her. The developers listened. You lot were just wrong for once. I'm sorry, but it's true. Otherwise, she'd be
Hmm?
fixed by now. So, to put it
I put
bluntly,
out
it's
videos about
my
it.
opinion that Sombra's direction shouldn't be facilitating downtime. She should be getting rewarded for her uptime.
Yes.
Facilitating downtime is how you get Sombra players spawn camping and
Yes.
all the stuff Reddit complains about. Sombra's
Yes.
gameplay should feel like she wants to be out of invisibility to get value, exposing herself to the risk of being shut down,
Yes.
and then that being okay to do so, because she never gets fully shut down, with the design of her kit implying she doesn't always need to fully commit, even if she doesn't get a kill or shuts down anything important. Her having 225 health, well, her only form of anything having a 7-second cooldown means there's a lot of pressure on every dive. That's how whenever she does anything, she feels overwhelming. Tracer is the opposite of this, where she has incredible mobility, which means she doesn't need much, if any, guarantee on every dive, which is why she never really feels
Every dive, every
overwhelming
counter
regardless
dive.
of output. And before you're
Yep.
worried that I'm going to suggest turning her into Tracer 2.0,
No.
this also applies to Genji, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, and plenty other heroes. The act of giving Sombra more mobility, survivability,
Hey, I referenced a couple of those things, so I'm glad we're on the same page, homie. Let's go.
or survivability through mobility does not inherently mean she's turning into Tracer. Looking into maybe decreasing the demanding nature of Sombra's dives is a good direction to explore. Control-Alt-Escape is an absolutely phenomenal example of this, and should be a cornerstone in how perks are thought about for Sombra in my opinion, leaving hack and oppressive stuff to more general balance changes. I still absolutely think stealth is a major load-bearing component to Sombra, so I don't want it gone. But to me, it exists in her kit in the sense that the better you are, the more efficient you are with stealth and the less you use it, but
Yeah.
never zero stealth.
I just
In my
want-
ideal
We'll see if we say, I'm going to pause here because I definitely want to see if we think the same. My ideal Sombra will have stealth and translocators separated, and I understand everybody hates the silence. It's like 1 second, if you're still mad about that, fine, whatever. It's like, if we want to nerf the hack more, I would just like it to be at least a stun. Like, not like a stun, like a flashbang stun, but how all those other examples that Questron made can also still cancel alts, cancel abilities. Like, I would still like that as an ability. And then it's like we still have the damage boost. Like, in my opinion, those are fun. Activating all the other crap, but yeah, I really want stealth separated because that would give her out. She could use translocator as an out, and she could still have an in, like a 5-second invis, something like something. We'll see. We'll see what he says here.
ideal world, I'd have her two major perks function in the two main
perks.
ways you have survivability in the middle of a duel. Either you get more mobility in a literal sense, or more direct survivability. Perk 1, for example, would be that the translocator cooldown speeds up while out of stealth by 50%, promoting the usage
like
of
that.
the translocator itself, as well as promoting the lack of stealth, really doubling down on the aggressive way people can use the translocator. And then the
Yes,
other perk
I
would be
enjoy that.
Control-Escape, but turned into a major perk, where it triggers the passive self-heal when using translocator without
Just
the
immediately.
50% health requirement. Her self-healing would still stop if any damage was done to her, not to just have being in stealth mean you get healed. Then
Yeah.
the minor perks can be more damage oriented, like maybe the area of effect virus we have as a major, but nerfed to do less damage or have less range or have it not speed up on hack targets, or a combination of the three. I'm not a game designer and I don't have the resources to trial and error anything, so I'm just spitballing to paint a picture. Given that in discussion I constantly see a resurgence of the same couple ideas, I narrowed it down to 4 ideas that I could preemptively shoot down right
Interesting.
here before I derails conversation when talking about Sombra with people that don't have thousands of hours on her. This isn't meant to be condescending, but there's a disconnect in why people think people enjoy Sombra that you can't quite explain without being in the thick of it. So here they are. Here are the 4. You can
You'll be able to listen to the document in the description. Second translocator. Yeah, even I was thinking about that. The existence of a punishment window when Sombra uses a transcoder as a core element to decision making. A second translocator remove this window. Absolutely make your Tracer 2.0. This is exactly elementary. Yeah, that's fine. This is the motivator how you approach the enemy team. A second translocator would in theory help, but in experience or identity, hashtag not worth it. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair argument. Separate the stealth button. That's my exact one right here. This would force the return of damage unstealthing her, making her way too fragile, meaning she's forced to set up by slower and safer means, longer detours, and the like. Promotes bad gameplay. Separate this would force the return of damage. I don't think it would force the return of damage unstealthing her. Right now, the damage revealing her. I think the damage revealing her is a good middle ground, because the difference in between damage unstealthing her and damage just revealing her is Sombra still maintains the movement speed buff from being invisible. Place translocator on time. We've had that. That's the motivator for wanting this back in existence and escape more than a reliable, consistent. Sombra's problem is how binary it presents it. Yeah, just being able to freely, say, place your translocator down on a med kit, run around to high ground, from being invis, and then jump down on somebody and then just TP out. It's like it seems like you're getting value, but you're not really getting as much value because you're like just kind of spraying, and if you don't actually confirm a kill, you're just charging support ults. Support Sombra, yeah, no. The philosophy behind wanting this is out of sight, out of mind, not a solution. I know Doomfist swap roles, but this gameplay loop did not change. They bumped up the survivability to increase his uptime in a fight, rather than one quick kill and leaving like Sombra. Yeah, I mean, during the event, they had the quote-unquote support Sombra being where it's like she gave damage buff or like fire speed buff or something. I think that would end up being better if you wanted to give her a support perk than just the healing perk, because that was very, very underwhelming. 100 HP over 2 seconds is 50 HP a second, and that can be okay, but you have supports. You know, that's their job for a reason. Making Sombra be a support while also being a DPS is really hardcore muddying the water. It's I think the Symmetra problem. Reset translocator on kill. The problem is that the guaranteed requirement of a kill is too high as is. Yeah, basically you need. Oh yeah.
Pause the video. Maybe if your idea is between this, hopefully that answers my response.
Oh.
Decreasing the all-in, all-out nature of Sombra's dives doesn't inherently mean give her more mobility either. The reason Control at Escape is an absolutely phenomenal example of this is because Control at Escape grays out the black and white in and out by giving her the risky option of partially rehealing up the damage she took from the dive she did and stick around instead of having to entirely give up to go to a health pack that's across the map. The change in direction from a combination of lethality and utility slowly shifting towards mobility means a decrease in lethality. Decreasing Virus's cooldown but at a way lower amount of total damage would be a good start, but honestly it's a trial and error based balancing system. Maybe Hack loses its damage boost or Virus's impact damage doesn't get amplified on Hack targets, only sped up, who knows.
I'm
but
fine with
also
that.
important is that she regains some more utility after losing damage. The one thing I miss from Overwatch 1 isn't even something people really thought about, but that hacking itself should be situational. As it is now, every single hack has some form of excuse. Whether it's damage boost, virus boost, visibility through walls, an interrupt, there's always a value. Back in Overwatch 1, if an Ana used her nade and sleep dart, a hack's lockout was shorter than the cooldown. If you hacked Ana while those were on cooldown, you gained literally nothing out of it aside giving away the element of surprise. I think at the very least, damage should not be tied to hack, with some kind of buff that the developers can trial and error their way to find to compensate. I did not like it when Overwatch 2 launched and was disappointed they brought it back in the recent rework. So,
Interesting.
In conclusion, I think Sombra in each of her reworks went in the right direction, but the further in balance it went beyond each starting point, the more she got dragged back into why people hated her. And I can't even blame them to think we need another rework. But I don't really think so. Blizzard, we've tried an emphasis on utility. We've tried an emphasis on lethality. I'm suggesting that while we hug the wall of utility, we piece by piece exchange lethality for mobility and uptime till we hit a sweet spot. If Tracer's all the way mobility, maybe like a quarter of the way to that, the foundation in the translocator being what it currently is laid the groundwork for a solid mobility-centric iteration of Sombra. One that we've never seen before. One that people wouldn't make the most banned character in the game. That being said, thank you for watching. That's the end of my yap session. If this video gave you some new insight or perspective, please consider sharing it around or using it as a reply in conversation about Sombra to get a ball rolling, to maybe get some meaningful change to happen, to fix the most hated character in Overwatch history without taking her away from those that like her.
All right, that is the Questron video. I highly suggest going on, giving it a like, giving him a check. I'll include it, of course, in the link in my description in the video. I think I also made sure to record a part, put a little link to it as well. I guess I'll make sure that it's shared up there too. But yeah, I'll give my little conclusion on his thoughts and everything, cause yeah, I agree. Like I started playing Overwatch back in technically season 3. I did my level ups through season 3 of Overwatch. My first competitive season was over season 4. A lot of the characters I played back then were like Orisa and Mercy mostly, because Orisa had just launched, so it was a good good learning curve kind of character. But then I picked up Sombra. I think during season 4 still, because I think that is when she was the lowest win rate hero, very a low pick hero, and I kind of figured out learning a character who not too many people knew, so I didn't have to worry about like getting massively skill dipped. And I stuck with it. I grinded it out. I played it for just about 600 hours now, so I'm not in the thousands of hours, but I think people would definitely call me a bit of a connoisseur. And I've been there through the I think people were calling it the purple spark combo back when it was Tracer Sombra going around trying to pretty much get a couple kills, like say kill the supports during a team fight, run back as fast as they can to their spawn, kill the supports, run back to the team fight, then get back, kill those supports, and just kind of blink back and forth. Like, well, one was purple and one kind of blinked around, purple spark. Uh, yeah, I think some of the better iterations were like once they started to move away from the stealth and the hack and started to tighten up like her damage spread. I know when they kind of, I believe, made it so Sombra couldn't quote unquote hack tracers through walls. They also tightened up her damage spread, and that's kind of when the nerfs to her disruption came in. But also, in my opinion, really started to get good as it started to play into a much more aggressive and fast-paced gameplay loop. And I think that's when Sombra performs the best. Isn't like he said the Tracer 2.0, because to me Tracer with her blinks and her rewinds or her recall there, she's very horizontal in the movement, whereas the strength in Sombra's movement is the omnidirectional uh, aspect of it. Like you can move very easily to high ground, you can reposition up there, back and forth, everything like that. That's also why I think when it says like the two translocators being an idea, I think that is actually a bad idea. The cooldown reduction while out of invis, I think is a good idea. I do think it's a good idea because then it still gives her that out. But I really do not think that translocator and invisibility should be tied together. I don't think we need to bring back being completely revealed or taken out of stealth by taking damage just because the movement boost. The movement boost is a significant part of being invisible. But because of the movement boost, I also believe that it should be separated. Because the translocator can go back to being an in or an out, even though I'm sure people would mostly use it as an out. But then you would have the ability of a quick little movement boost to get into position stealthily. I don't think it should be invisible. I like the idea of it being, 5 seconds or less, because the idea isn't excuse me, the idea of invis isn't to just be invisible waiting on the sideline for your opportunity. It's so that when you see the opportunity in a team fight, you should be able to either uh, be able to engage on that opportunity before the team fight like kind of fully starts and get an early pick, or you should be able to uh, they translocate off to the side. You have your translocator on cooldown. See where you want to re-engage, be able to invis, go get your cross angle, something like that. Go get a flank angle, and then be there. But it shouldn't be at such a rate where you can invis, cooldown up for translocator, invis, cooldown up for translocator, because then you're permanently invisible. And that's would be I could see the one problem with the Questron cooldown reduction while out of invis, because you can just have that constant uptime of her ability and giving next to no vulnerability window with some good play. But yeah, I've read a lot of the complaints. I've talked to a lot of people. I've recently had some people in rounds where Sombra doesn't get banned. Ask me why I like to play Sombra, if I like to just be a troll and make everybody's life suck, or if I just actually like the gameplay loop. And no, 100%. It's really fun to just kind of hop around, I used to do like up, down, turn around, grab yourself, whatever, good time. But yeah, hopefully we can find some middle ground to stop getting banned all the time, because there's definitely way worse characters that I'd rather be playing against myself. But I guess I understand when I end up being the server admin as Sombra. Anyway, if you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow. Please remember to give Questron here some dabs. They did this on a private window. Oh, I don't know. Seems to be the average thing. Yeah, have a good day. Peace.